A lot of the times when people say that we don't have enough hours in the day, I wish there was just a couple more hours, there's not enough time. What that really means is that my prioritization is not right. My scheduling is off. I'm not really putting the things in focus of what I want to achieve. And if we can all just start taking this concept of building a fight camp around our goals, I think that that's something that could be huge for all of us. Make a choice. Be a champion. So many people talk about there not being enough hours in the day, and I completely get it. I realize though that when we say this, it really does come down to time management and scheduling. And I'm gonna use fighting as an example. When we fight, we've got a certain goal and a certain deadline. So what we've learned to do is that we take the time that we have in the short amount of weeks that we have to meet our goal. And we have to really plan this whole thing out. I mean, we've got to plan out from how much weight we have to lose in X amount of weeks to how many training sessions I have to go through and what I have to do from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed. It's all precisely calculated based on whether it's a 6-week camp, 8-week camp, 12-week camp, or whatever it is. And then it's not about there's not enough hours in the day. It's really about what can I do efficiently with my time that I have scheduled into this time frame before I get to the date of my goal. And I realize that when people talk about not having enough hours in the day, it really does come down to effective scheduling and time management. And if we are able to articulate that same principle of what we go through as fighting for the way we achieve our goals, I think that we'll all have way more success in the way we approach our goals and our days. Because if we can just look at our schedule, if we could plan it out, if we could look at what we have on our agenda every single day, from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed, just like a fight, we're gonna realize that a lot of our day that we're doing is actually not beneficial towards our goals. So I'm gonna use this as an example. Let's look at fighting. When I'm getting ready for a fight, I know that I've got so many weeks to get ready for this deadline. This is the goal. The goal is this hard-nosed date that's set in stone that I know I have to meet. And I've got X amount of weight to lose. I'm gonna actually break that down. Okay, I know I need to be little milestone goals that I need to make sure my weight's at. So I'll put little check marks in my schedule. We have to be at this weight by this time, this weight by this time, this weight by this time. Okay. Then I plan out the stuff that are the locked in variables. I know I have a training session at this day, at this time, at this time, at this time. And then I start laying out my entire weeks and my entire a daily schedule with those training sessions. Okay, now, what are other things that I need to lock in that are non-negotiables, ones that I can't change? Okay, I know I have to run at 7 a.m. on this day. Okay, I write that into my schedule. I know I have to run at 7 a.m. on this day. I lock that into my schedule. Now I can look at, okay, these are what I have locked in. I know every day I train at this time. It's 7 o'clock is my running. I know that I have a training session every day at 12 o'clock and every day at 7 o'clock. So now, those are the ones that are locked in. Now I know, okay, there's these gaps that I could fill with anything in between those time frames. Okay, let's say I need to get in a strength and conditioning session, or I need to get in a grappling session. Those are all gonna be based on the variables of my goal. Because if my goal is locked in, and let's say my opponent is a striker, I'm gonna start filling in those gaps in my time schedule with things that I need to achieve with that goal. So if I'm going against a striker, I'm not necessarily gonna fill in more things that are gonna get me better on knowing a guillotine. It's gonna focus on what I'm gonna do for game planning towards that goal so I can actually get the best outcome that I can. And so when I start looking at this as my agenda, I'm like, wow, okay, I can actually see this week I'm working on this for this aspect of my goal. Next week I'm working on this aspect. And as those weeks go on, I'm getting closer and closer to my goal. Now, am I gonna be excited about doing these things that I may or not be good at? Probably not. None of us are good at the things that we're not good at until we develop the skill sets. But that's what's great about goals, setting goals. I have to develop skills and the tools that are needed to be able to achieve or acquire that goal that I have at the end of my deadline. And that's like with anything else. Once we start laying this out, when we start approaching all of our agendas, all of our goals, in fact, if we approach life the same thing like a fighter's scheduling, then you start realizing, okay, here's my goal. I have to acquire X, Y, and Z in this time frame to be able to achieve that goal. And I think that's what sets us all away from achieving stuff, is because we see this goal and we have no idea how to obtain it. And just like a fight, let's say I'm fighting a world championship athlete that might be the best ground fighter or the best striker in the world, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, how am I gonna beat this guy? Instead, what I would look at, okay, here's my goal. What do I need to acquire in order for me to get to that point? So then that's gonna go down with the way I do my schedule management. Not just from today, but I have to schedule my entire camp, because I know that, okay, I've got X amount of time that I need to acquire these skills. How can I make my day be completely efficient to where I get a maximization from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed so I can achieve that goal? Now, whether or not I actually achieved what I set out to do, my process gave me the skills that I needed to potentially even have the opportunity to do that. Now, we can do that with anything. You know, you could look at your day and say, okay, every day I wake up and this is what I need to do. From maybe it's make breakfast, I go to work at this time, I try to work out, so I put that on my schedule. Now you have a basic idea of, okay, here's my window. I work at this time, I'm scheduling at this time, and I eat at these times. Okay, cool. Now I get an idea of what my day looks like. I can start filling in the gaps of that day of things that are gonna allow me to get closer to my goal that I've picked that I want to achieve. A lot of the times when people say that we don't have enough hours in the day, I wish there was just a couple more hours, there's not enough time. What that really means is that my prioritization is not right. My scheduling is off. I'm not really putting the things in focus of what I want to achieve. And if we can all just start taking this concept of building a fight camp around our goals, I think that that's something that could be huge for all of us. We could take our goals, we could take our agendas, we could take our things that we want to achieve and just build a fight camp for it. Give ourselves a deadline and give ourselves a schedule to get to that deadline. That way, so I might not know what I achieve, but at least I'm learning new things along the way to get there. And who knows, by the time you finally get to that goal, maybe it's not even what you wanted it anymore, but at least you acquired new skills en route to getting there. A fight camp makes an athlete a better athlete because we went through each course of that en route to the destination. I tell all my guys during their camps, I say, listen, the goal of this camp is not for you just to become able to beat your opponent. I want every fight camp for you to become a better athlete. You must become a better fighter because of what that camp makes you push through. Not about just doing the same things over and over, and that's what a lot of us do. We wake up, we do the same routines every day, and then at the end of the day we go, man, there wasn't enough time for me to get that done. I wasn't able to get to the gym. I wasn't able to eat healthy because everything was just, it was all over the place. But if we schedule everything, if everything is planned, and if you can build the habits of sticking to your schedule just like an athlete, just like a fighter, you're gonna start seeing these changes. And even for me, I even schedule in when I watch TV because I have to earn that. It's gotta be scheduled in. I don't want anything just to randomly happen. I wanna make sure that I can look into the future of my planning. I can say, okay, at 8 o'clock I know I'm doing this. Boom, locked in. 9 o'clock I'm doing this. 10 o'clock I'm doing this. I mean, like I'm looking at my schedule right now and I can see what my day completely looks like from now, from 8 a.m. till 10 o'clock in the evening. And it's almost like looking into the future. I can do this on every single day of my week because I planned it out on the first day of the week. And I can also do an overview of my month. It's like a pull-out view. I can pull out and I can zoom out and I can see my entire month. And for the things that I've already planned out from that, I can pull out again. I can see my entire year. Now the goals that I want to achieve this year, maybe I don't know how to get there yet. That's perfectly fine. But I do know that I'm gonna start making milestones, just like I do with my weight cuts. I make those milestone pieces that are gonna get me closer and closer to it. I can't achieve what I don't know how to get there with. What I can achieve is the little steps that I know that are gonna get me closer and closer. And that's what these daily schedules do. I can look at it and I go, okay, man, I might not know how to do this, so let me do some research. Let me ask somebody. Let me go ahead and get a little bit of help. Let me put on a podcast. Let me put on an audiobook. Let me read something that's gonna allow me to get a little bit more information to get me more clear. And I think that's a big thing on it, is that once we get clear on what it is that we want, the scheduling becomes way easier, way more effective, and it becomes way more of our normal routines once we get clear. And I know for me that when I fight, it's absolutely clear what my goal is. I've got a guy that wants to hurt me on this date. And so I need to make sure I do everything in my power to make sure that I've done all the steps that are needed for me to go ahead and make sure that I'm ready for this challenge that's gonna be on this date. Because if I don't, he's gonna be able to achieve what he wants. And I don't want that. I don't wanna get hurt. I don't wanna go into this thing unprepared. And I think if we all take that idea of every single day not being unprepared, then we're able to get closer and closer to our battles. And most of us do this, right? We go through this daily routine of being unprepared and just hoping things are gonna happen. Once we take responsibility for our own actions in our schedule, you'll start to see everything's gonna start panning out. Things are gonna start getting more accessible. You're gonna have more time. I look at it this way, I'm like, once I schedule this out, I actually have more time than the average person. I know there's only 24 hours in a day, but I look at this like, man, I actually have more time because I've scheduled it out. Instead of me saying, man, I didn't have this window when I went from A to B to get anything done. But when it's scheduled in and I actually looked at it, I was like, wow. Where my issue was, it was actually that I should have just scheduled this closer in, and now I have more time in the rest of the day to do other things that I want to get done. And that's where I start realizing that that's where the clarity comes from. The clarity really does come from putting things together in order of prioritization. And I know that scheduling can be hard. The way I look at my scheduling now to compare to where I scheduled when I was just getting started is completely different. The way I wrote then is different than the way that I write now. And the clarity of how I wrote then is different than I write now. But now I also know that if I didn't go through those stages before of just writing things down, getting started, I would never be as clear as I am now. It's a process. Like it's a process to get started. It's a process to build habits. It's a process for us to change the habits that we're already in. And even for me, like the way that I fought then is completely different than the way that I fight now. I'm a very detail-oriented fighter now. But that's only because of the years of process that I've done trying to plan my way out. I've tried to plan the way that I approach my obstacles. And it's now transitioned into the same way that I schedule my day. Planning like a fighter. Scheduling like a fighter, seeing our goals like a fight camp. Even if you don't know how to get there, acquire the tools it takes to get there. Find new ways of getting information. Ask people, find mentors. There's tons of information that you guys can get out there on how to goal set. But one thing you can do certainly is just write it down. Write down what your day looks like. I wake up this time. I go to work this time. These are locked variables. Give yourself another locked variable. I know I'm going to commit to the gym at this time. Don't let yourself stray from that. If you lock into your schedule, do it. And here's the thing. I'm not perfect, and I know that. I stray from some of this a lot of the times. And that's what I think makes it so important to realize, is that when I stray from this, I see how quickly I fall back into my old ways. And then I get back on my routines. I'm like, that's what I needed. I needed my own actions. I need my own worth on looking at my scheduling. And I say, okay, I'm accountable for sticking to this schedule. I'm accountable for what I wrote down. I'm accountable for not making excuses on why I didn't do that. Just like if I win or lose in a fight, I'm accountable for what I did to get to there. It's not about the result, it's about the process. And scheduling your day and scheduling your life like a fight camp allows us to have our own handle on the process. And I think that this is something that if if I can articulate this to every one of you, that if we can all just approach this with a fighter's mentality, then we truly are all fighting for what we want. We just have to see it as a fight. Your goal has to be a fight. What you want to achieve has to be a fight. But the only way you are going to be able to stand and fight is by scheduling it and planning it like a fight. So guys, please get a schedule, get a planner, write out your days, take the first steps, and allow yourself to do what's necessary to get to those goals. Start planning like a fighter, and so you can start achieving these goals just like a fighter. We are all in this together, and plan it out and fight for what you guys want.